very good afternoon and welcome to Gradeup. My name is Abhishek Singh and I welcome you all in this really important and very crucial session today on the YouTube channel of Gradeup IAS. And this session is going to be about the UNEP report on the restoration of the ecosystem. All right. So guys, make sure that if you are not yet live, so quickly join the session, and before proceeding, hit the bell icon on the subscription of the Gradeup IAS YouTube channel. So hello everyone, welcome to this class. My name is Abhishek Singh, as I told you, and I have been guiding UPSC aspirants since 2017, and these are the UPSC credentials that I have achieved in my career. And as far as the topic is concerned, so before moving on that topic, guys, let me tell you something very interesting, that Gradeup is giving you a great opportunity to join our your preparation with the great help from the Gradeup team. Just use this coupon code called HOPE50, okay, HOPE50, and you will get a flat 50% off on the Gradeup Super subscription. So do not delay, join us now. So let's see that what is the topic today. So what is the recent news, guys? The recent news is that United Nations Environment Program, that is the UNEP, all right? So that has released a report on the environment, report on the ecosystem restoration for the people, nature and climate. Okay, so that is the news that which we are going to discuss. All right, so those who have joined us right now, hello Tanvi, Rishabh, and guys, make sure that you share this session with your friends as well so that they can also join in. All right, and let us understand this funda first of all. Basically, the UNEP is the body, the associated body of the United Nations that declares, or that actually looks after the implementation of the environmental protection programs. And under that, the UNEP, along with the association, in the association with the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, right? Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, they both had declared the decade of 2021 to 2030 as the UN decade on the ecosystem restoration. Ecosystem restoration. So guys, how many of you are already aware that what is the meaning of restoration? We might have heard that house restoration, or maybe some old car restoration. So anything which is damaged, or which is becoming dysfunctional, or not in the proper shape or proper style. So we try to bring it back to the original status of that particular thing. So that is called as the restoration. Ecosystem restoration, the name itself clearly tells that the restoration means assisting in the recovery of the degraded or destroyed ecosystems. First thing, okay, recovery of the degraded or destroyed ecosystems, and second, conservation of the ones which are still intact. That means those ecosystems which are still firm, still not very damaged one. So to conserve that ecosystem, that is also considered as the part of the ecosystem restoration. All right, and by the way, how do you think that ecosystem and the corporations or the urban arrangements, how do they function with each other? Here it is a very basic flow chart, as you can see here. The production dependent on the ecosystems. You can see here, providing and controlling the raw materials like fibers, woods, water, etc. So corporations are dependent on the ecosystem for their raw materials. All right, and the corporations, they contribute to the ecosystem. How do they contribute, guys? They actually they contribute in both the ways, positive as well as in the negative. So these are the negative ways, like negative ways. For example, reducing the burden. Okay, reducing the burden. Sorry, negative ways include like increasing the burden. Okay, negative contribution includes increasing the burden, such as the pollutants, etc., such as the non-degradable, okay, non-degradable components are added, all right, or electronic waste and nuclear waste, different things are there. Untreated poisonous substances are there. All these things are actually added by the corporations, by the industries and urban setups to the ecosystem. However, the corporations, basically the companies or the industries, they also have certain affirmative or certain positive impacts, like reducing the burden on ecosystem. Okay, reducing the load on the ecosystem arising from the corporate activities by minimizing their global carbon footprints. All right, and also one thing is like reducing the negative things, another thing is to affect positively, to increase those things which are positively impact, which are having positively impact. Okay, so creation of the products and services that preserve ecosystems and contribution to the society through the nature conservation. So you can see now that how can I contribute in something, either by not doing wrong, or by doing what is correct. So this approach is called as the prohibitive approach. Here the corporations are reducing the load on ecosystem arising from the corporate activities, like reduction in the carbon carbon production or something like that. And here creating the products and services that preserve ecosystem, like the reduce, reuse, recycle, the 3 R's. And here contribution to the society through nature conservation, that means encouraging the social participation also is done by the corporates, done by the industries to conserve the nature. So overall, this arrangement is leading to the process of ecosystem restoration. Now, what are the key findings of this report? All right, Kanchan, good afternoon. Mahendra, good afternoon. All right, so Mahendra is having some sort of observant eyes. That's very good. So now let us understand that what are the key findings of the report of UNEP on the ecosystem restoration. So first thing that is found from the report, that guys, we are using 1.6 Earth to maintain our current lifestyle. What is that? It is like for example, our income is rupees 1. Our income is rupees 1, but we are spending rupees 1.5, right? So that means we are going into the negative balance, we are going into the burden. So guys, same thing is applicable on the resources, okay, applicable for the resources of the Earth's ecosystem. Earth is currently being overutilized by 1.6 times, and that is the worst thing that can be possible. What is the next finding? Every year the global services worth more than 10% of the global economic output are lost. That means what? What are the global services? For example, very recently we had the severe shortage of oxygen, shortage of medical oxygen. All right, medical oxygen. But guys, we should not be surprised if in the upcoming 50 years or upcoming 30 years, there could be the shortage of the breathable oxygen. Like the concentration of the oxygen in the atmosphere, that will be same only or similar only. but the breathable oxygen that is present without any adulteration, without any poisonous gases mixed into it, that can be a difficult thing in future. How is that happening? That is a type of service only, na? Providing the pure and fresh oxygen for the breathing. The type of service, guys, we are losing more than 10% of such services, which value more than 10% of the global economic output. If the total GDP of the entire world, if suppose that is 1,000 rupees, so every year we are losing 100 rupees, right? 100 rupees equivalent of the global services. That is a tremendous loss. Let me tell you, that is a tremendous loss. And not just that, the report also tells us that 1/3 of the farmlands means जिस जमीन पर खेती होती है, that type of land, okay? So 1/3 of the world's farmlands are degraded. What is the meaning of degraded? They are not in their natural condition, not in their natural position. Okay? Either due to the excessive uses of the insecticides, pesticides, chemical fertilizers, or due to the excessive soil erosion, or due to the leaching of the soil. Different reasons can be there, but somehow the 1/3 of the total farmlands in the world, they have lost their original structure. They are degraded now. But the most striking point that is related to the inland wetlands. What is the inland wetlands? Guys, you might have heard about the places such as Loktak Lake in Manipur. You might have heard about the places such as Sambhar Lake in Rajasthan, isn't it? Right? Lonar Lake in Maharashtra, isn't it? So guys, these are the examples of the inland wetlands. Wetlands are those water bodies or the areas around the water bodies which remains submerged in the water or in the aquatic ecosystem throughout the year, right? That is the wetland. It is not the exact definition, but it is for you to understand. That is why I have used in simple words. All right. So 87%, guys, 87%, almost you can say the 90% of the total inland wetlands in the world, they have disappeared in last 300 years. And guys, Earth is not just 300 years old. The current terrestrial forms, these are not just 300 years old. At least these are like anyhow 5 lakh years or more than that old. So we can say that in last, even if we consider that the end of the last ice age and the beginning, the starting of the Holocene, that occurred somewhere near around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Let us assume that since then the Earth is quite stable and quite constant in its climatological conditions. Still, guys, in the last 10,000 years, we did not see as much change as we have seen in the last 300 years if we are talking about the wetlands. Similarly, the commercial fish species are also overexploited. So what does these things indicate? These things indicate that we are overexploiting our ecosystem and its resources. And due to that overexploitation, what is happening? Ecosystem degradation, it has already affected the well-being of 40% of the global population. So that is a very big number. Recently, you might have seen that some of the nations like Maldives or the countries like Indonesia or the countries like Bangladesh, etc., they are suffering the worst risk in the upcoming time period to be submerged in the sea water. Why? Because we have been overexploiting the resources, and our overexploitation of resources, that is resulting into the right into the rise of the global temperature. That's called as the global warming. We all have understood that thing. And guys, until and unless the restoration is not done, then we cannot hope to achieve the target of under 2 degrees Celsius increase in the temperature, in the global temperature. Okay, so that is something we need to keep in our minds. It is required for that. Okay, at the same time, under the various conventions, the different countries have also agreed that they will restore the 1 billion hectares of the degraded land, mostly by the afforestation or by the treatment of the soils. So they also need to deliver their promise, right? So overall, if we understand this thing, so we will understand that, guys, the restoration of the ecosystem will provide many benefits to the humankind. Please have a look on in this thing. In the case of health and welfare, look at this. Investing just just $4 per resident in the growing trees, it could improve the health of millions of people by filtering and cooling the air. $4 per person. Then, in case of food security, so guys, restoration of farmlands and the food producing services of natural ecosystem, it can definitely help us to achieve the sustainable development goal. Remember, sustainable development goal of the zero hunger. Guys, restoring mangroves can add 60 trillion young, edible and commercially valuable fish and invertebrates to the coastal waters every year. अगर मैंग्रोव्स बढ़ाया तो उसकी वजह से क्या होगा? 60 ट्रिलियन फिश पॉपुलेशन बढ़ने की उम्मीद है. So that will be the tremendous amount of food availability for the people dying of hunger. Similarly, in case of biodiversity, what can restoration do there? Restoration can reverse the biodiversity losses and increase the provision of the ecosystem services. Right? So another example is given here. Restoring 15% of the converted land in the right places, it could avoid the 60% extinctions of the species. यानी जो जानवर आज के टाइम पर क्रिटिकली एंडेंजर्ड लिस्ट में आते हैं या ऑलमोस्ट एक्सटिंक्ट के लिस्ट में आते हैं, those animals, they could be saved just by restoration of 15% of the converted land into the right places. That is the impact. What impact will it be having on economy? So guys, longer that the ecosystems are left to degrade, the more degraded they become, the larger the cost to society that is caused. So that means simple, 10 trillion in the global GDP could be lost by 2050 if the ecosystem services continue to decline. So you understood that whatever least possible changes are made in the ecosystem, they will have the magnanimous impact on the human life. It is like, you might have studied about the Pascal's law, that if we apply the small force also, it gets magnified because of the expansion of the fluid. Those who are science students, they can understand, or those who are commerce students, they can understand that the power of compounding, that if we keep even a small amount of money rotating in the compounding business, it becomes big and bigger. guys, same thing is applicable for the ecosystem also. If we give small thing in the negative direction, it will return us the huge negative impact on our lives, our earth. If we provide a small positive input, it will magnify that 100 and more than times in the positive direction. Similarly, you can see here other features like climate adaptation, climate change mitigation, water and security. Guys, especially climate is something which is in most of the times in the news because it is changing very rapidly. People are unable to adapt to the climate changes, right? So simple restoration of the oyster reef in the Mobile Bay in the US reduced average wave heights and energy by 53 to 91%. Can you believe it? Oyster reef, you might have heard the coral reef. Reef means चट्टान होता है, तो oysters भी जो है वो coral reefs के जैसे ही मिलते हैं वहां पर उसी इकोसिस्टम में. It is saying that restoration of that natural reef, उसकी वजह से जो हाइट होती थी है ना लहरों की या जो लॉस होता था, so those things actually reduced by 53 to 91%, and that resulted into the various benefits for the people living on the shores. Okay. Similarly, other examples are there. Climate change mitigation. Guys, we all know that if we are unable to stop the climate change at this rate it is happening now, we will be extinct very soon, right? May not be in our generation obviously, but in the next few hundred years itself we will be reaching closer to our end. However, you can check this at protecting intact ecosystem or halting and reversing the degradation. It can contribute to 1/3 of the total climate change mitigation. तो 2030 तक जितना गोल है क्लाइमेट चेंज को मिटिगेट करने का, उसको रोकने का, अगर इकोसिस्टम कंजर्वेशन या इकोसिस्टम प्रोटेक्शन अप्लाई किया जाता है, 1/3 टारगेट तो सिर्फ इसी से पूरा हो जाएगा. Rest everything will be coming later. Similarly, you can check the water. So what is the impact of the conservation of the natural ecosystem or the restoration of the ecosystem on the water? So guys, natural ecosystems offer the critical services to the people like clean water and sanitation, irrigation, etc. For example, 81% of the cities could reduce the sediment or the nutrient pollution in water by coupling the forest protection and the restoration. तो भाई अगर वो अपने यहाँ के फॉरेस्ट को प्रोटेक्ट करें या रीस्टोर करें along with some changes, some improvements in agricultural practices, 81% of the problem of the polluted water, polluted drinking water or sedimented drinking water, this can be solved very easily without any extra efforts. All right. And security. What is security? Basically, guys, security of the resources. Okay, security of the resources and security of the humankind. Example, Africa's Great Green Wall aims to integrate the promotion of peace and security into larger objective of restoring 100 million hectares. तो भाई क्या होता है कि ज्यादातर एरियाज में लैंड यूजेस या इकोसिस्टम एनक्रोचमेंट की वजह से ही प्रॉब्लम्स क्रिएट होती हैं between the government and the civilians or the people who are living in that area, and that keeps on enhancing and becomes much bigger. Okay, much bigger. Example, मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूं. Currently there is a dispute going on. Okay, there is a dispute going on in the Bastar region of Chhattisgarh. Okay, the thousands of tribals are there. They have gathered together to protest against they had gathered together to protest against the establishment of the CRPF camp in that area. But government did not pay any heed, any attention to this. Now guys, this is not something which is related to the law and order issue or something. It is something related to the intrusion of their area. It is okay that there is the issues related to the Naxalites, and there are security concerns also. But guys, I told you in the very beginning that the people who are associated with these naturally established regions, they are usually in the lack of proper resources, proper opportunities. Therefore, they lack the education as well. What happens? This is why they are unable to understand anything else except their connection, their affiliation with the natural ecosystem around them. According to them, whosoever comes, even for their protection, even for their security, according to them, they are all encroachers, all intruders into their natural forest ecosystem. Right? So this will be actually creating the troubles in future if it is not dealt with the utmost sincerity. Okay. So what are the, this is the example in the reference of current scenario in India. So let us understand the recommendations made by the UNEP. So guys, what are the recommendations? First thing, restoration and avoiding degradation. These must be prioritized in order to achieve the sustainable development goal of 2030. Large scale investment in the dry land agriculture and the mangrove protection, that will be helpful to manage the availability of water. All right, guys, in fact, let me tell you that in the whole world, around 70% of the fresh drinking water present underground, that is because of the aquatic and mangrove ecosystem present around the rivers or the inland water bodies. So that is why we must be very careful about the restoration of the natural ecosystems. All right. Now, talking about the dry land farming. So this is the new term that is actually used here. All right, used here, and it is being referred, or it is being recommended as the possible solution for the restoration of the lands. So guys, what is that? Basically, in the absence of the irrigation resources, or the water throughout the year, such crops are encouraged, or such you can say cultivation is encouraged, which uses the least possible water. That is called the dry land farming. But guys, we all know that farming ultimately that contributes to the greenery and to the balancing of the ecosystem. So dry land farming is ultimately going to help out in the mitigation of the erosion of natural ecosystem. Okay, so that is about the major recommendations of the UNEP report on the ecosystem restoration. So guys, I hope that this session was interactive and learning for all of you. There can be one simple question for writing the answers, okay, because these type of topics can be useful for both prelims as well as the mains. So the question related to the prelims can be something very simple, like consider the following statements related to the report on the ecosystem restoration. Statement number 1: it is prepared in association with the Food and Agriculture Organization by the United Nations Environment Program, right? So that will be the first statement. Second statement can be that it targets to achieve the natural restoration of the ecosystem in the decade of 2021-2030, right? So this can be the second statement. Now the question will be asking that which of this is incorrect. So guys, both will be correct. Okay, so this is how the prelims questions are asked. Mains question is they are more important to learn from this topic. So there can be the question like this. For example, in the view of Sustainable Development Goal 2030, the mitigation of global warming challenge can be achieved through the natural ecosystem restoration. Discuss. Okay, 150 words. So this can be the question that can be a prototype question for the mains examination. In the view of the Sustainable Development Goal 2030, the target of mitigating the global warming challenge or global warming changes can be achieved through the natural ecosystem restoration. Discuss. This can be a simple question. There can be some tough questions as well. All right. So guys, those who are watching this lecture or those who will be watching this lecture, they are all requested to write down the answers in 150 words and submit your answer to the Telegram channel of Gradeup IAS. All right. Mention my name. My name is Abhishek, and you can also submit this writing the answer and clicking the picture of that. Submit that on the doubts portal of Gradeup application, Gradeup mobile application. Okay, so that is also a way to submit your answers. So guys, thank you so much for attending this session, and don't forget to share this with all of your friends. Okay, अब कब होगा? तो कंचन अभी तो मेरे ख्याल से इस हफ्ते के लिए तो यही क्लास है. नेक्स्ट वीक में आपसे मैं एक बार फिर से मिलूंगा इसी प्लेटफॉर्म पर, यूट्यूब पर, एक नए टॉपिक के साथ. तब तक के लिए आप उसको लिख करके आंसर को और ग्रेडअप एप्लीकेशन के डाउट्स पोर्टल पर सबमिट कर सकते हैं. ठीक है. So thank you so much everybody. Take care and make sure that you share this video with your friends also. और साथ ही साथ YouTube चैनल जो है ग्रेडअप IAS का, उसको सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा और बेल आइकन भी हिट करना मत भूलिएगा. So thank you so much everybody. Bye bye. All the best and thank you so much. Take care. Thanks a lot.